All right.
Hey,
Hey there. Welcome to CKLA Chats. I am DLC Sarah Foster Yankee for fourth and fifth grade, and this is my co-host.
Ashley Giles, also 4 through 5 district literacy coach, team 3.
Great. All right. So today we are in Unit 6, Contemporary Fiction, and this is Lesson 4, Character and the Theme of Aspiration in the House on Mango.
And remember, we are providing these short little clips for skill specialists, for special ed teachers, for principals, for APs, because your life is super busy every day. Hopefully, by viewing these clips before you go into a classroom, will give you some insight on the big key things you should see in the classroom.
Mhm.
And so we can go ahead and get started. So for lesson 4, we're going to finally move on to another vignette, right? So now students are going to be reading vignette 3 titled A Smart Cooking. The purpose is so that the students can see the similarities and differences between Esperanza and her mother. And then students will be writing a personal reflection after reading vignette 3 on aspirations. And aspirations is a theme that your students should be very well versed in by now.
Yes. Come up, but this is the fourth time.
Right, absolutely. So for this lesson, it starts off with the writing component. Really, there's 2 writing components for this lesson, but it kind of skips around. So for the first portion, which is a short portion, the students will know what setting, tone, and etc. are. They will understand which elements of the original text led them to make the choices they did in their alternative versions. And they will be able to revise the setting, first sentence, tone, etc., and share their alternative narrative piece by performing for the class. And so this portion is, yeah,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Do you mind if I explain the et cetera real fast? Okay.
Yeah, go
Put
ahead.
the et cetera in the cup because, like it says in the Bible, students are going to revise a writing they've already done. So, what they need to know is really specific to what the teacher wants them to revise for. So, you won't say setting, tone, and et cetera in the teacher's cup. The teacher's going to pick one of those. So, they either need to know what setting is so that they can revise the setting, or they need to know um, tune so they can revise the tone. So the teacher picks one, and that one thing goes in the cup. So
And I'm happy you said that because yeah, that's good point.
yeah.
So for the first part, so remember in our previous lesson, students had to write an alternative scene, right? As ZZZX. So the teacher will be handing back those journals. Students are going to refer back to that revised writing. And just like what Sarah said, the teacher is going to have them read the feedback. So remember, after they wrote, the lesson was over, the teacher provided feedback to their alternative scene. And so now students are going to look at their feedback, give them an opportunity to look at their feedback. And the teacher is going to select, based off her evidence, her data, she's going to select what she wants the students to revise. And so that would be your cup. So I'm so happy that you said that. And it also states that in the support section. So your teachers should know to do that. So one of those could be revise only the first sentence, revise the setting, or to focus their attention more, to make it more clear. So the teacher will tell the students, look at your feedback. I only want you to revise this, 1 or 2 things to fix, and then allow students 10 minutes to revise whatever that component, whatever you want. The teacher has set for her students to revise in their alternative scene. The teacher monitors as they are revising. And then basically you're going to ask for 2 volunteers. The teacher's going to ask for 2 volunteers after that 10 minutes is up to share their revised work by acting out the scenes that they wrote. So a lot of acting out, right? They did this a couple lessons ago. So one person will play Esperanza, and then their partner will play the nun. You give students a few moments to talk through like how this is going to look. And then you're going to, those that are listening in, reminding them that you're listening in carefully and you're being, attentive. Um, so as and also as a teacher, the teacher could ask, as you are listening to your peers, one being ZZ, they need to notice, how is ZZ the X different than Esperanza? Okay, how are they the same? So as they're reading their alternative scenes as ZZ the X now, well, how is it different? Um, and this is called comparing and contrasting. That's when you bring that skill in. So based off what the text really says, they revised it as these are the X. They should notice, how are the characters the same? How are they different? Um, it says you want to point out that it shouldn't be too much of a difference. Okay, they need to be similar, because it's really the same person. And basically, as the students are acting it out, they're conveying character. So how would ZZ the X say this? Or how is she, how would her dialogue be a little bit different than if it were Esperanza?
Mm-hmm.
So just when those students are listening, hopefully ensuring that they're paying attention to that. How is ZZ the X, how her dialogue is different, how her actions are different as well.
Yeah, I think
Um,
a good place to make that noticing would be, because the nun is still going to be the same. The nun hasn't changed, so she's still going
right,
to say, "You live there." So, what would
right.
Zizi's reaction be to that? How would it be different from Esperanza?
What?
Because she's the real
Mhm.
Esperanza, who she aspires to be. So, does
What would she say?
what would she say to the nun? She wouldn't probably be sad about it.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
that's a look for how the Zizi responds to the nun.
Right. And making sure that none is the same. So basically, when they wrote their alternative piece, it's pretty much the same. It's just those different perspectives, right?
Yep.
Between, if it was, Esperanza said it this way, we know her mood was a little bit on the lower end of the spectrum, right? Going back to your chart. But ZZ the X, she's in that imagined house. How will she say it? Well,
Exactly.
hopefully your students, those students that you see, they're pointing that out. And basically, that's what they're doing for this section. They're going to act out that scene. They're revising their work, acting out the scene, and it leads us into the reading portion, talking about conveying character. So,
All right.
and this is where they would be revising. It's the, what is that activity? Well, I don't forgot what lesson that was from, but this is where they wrote their alternative scene right there. So they're just going back and revising that, fixing that.
All right. Let's look at the reading. So our cub is that students are going to know the differences between Esperanza and her mother. They're going to understand the author's use of dialogue, thoughts, and action in the text to convey differences between Esperanza and her mother, and they'll be able to describe the differences between Esperanza and her mother. So the real purpose of this component of the lesson is to continue to look at Esperanza. All right, go to my next slide. The first component, close reading, looking at a smart cookie, is to look at Esperanza's aspirations through this new vignette and to find more ideas and evidence about those. So the teacher is really pointing out that when a text has the same big idea come up again and again, it's called a theme. And then the teacher is going to read the first paragraph of the vignette, A Smart Cookie. We read it with prosody. So students are really, by listening, getting an idea of the mother's feelings. And then the teacher's going to give the students 15 minutes to read the remainder of the vignette silently, or they can also continue to read it as a class. That's up to the teacher. The teacher is reminding students that they've already investigated Esperanza's aspirations and how her experiences with others affect her aspirations, and that today they'll continue looking at those ideas with a new character, her mother, in a new vignette. Smart cookie. So they're going to be looking at dialogue or what the characters say to learn more about them. The students are silently identifying the dialogue, and they're doing this on activity. Sorry, writer's journal 4.1. They're going to go
Mm-hmm.
back and identify the dialogue and insert quotation marks. They have 5 minutes to do that. The teacher's going to call in some volunteers to read out the dialogue in the vignette while the teacher records it on the board. Um, they're going to use the glossary to explain the idiom smart cookie, what that actually means. And from there, they're going to go into acting out the dialogue. The teacher is calling a volunteer to act out Esperanza's mother, and the class is going to observe and thinking about the character. It says the teacher can call on different students to act out different parts of the vignette, and they're addressing the class of Esperanza. So there is no student playing the role of Esperanza. Whoever is playing Esperanza's mother is to the class as if Esperanza. Um, and then let me see. Page two. So after that is done, they're going to have a discussion about character. I think that's the activity page now. Um, and questions about what the mom was saying, really trying to get to the root of what she was saying. Basically, being is how she had aspirations too, but she had big dreams, but she really let other people's perceptions of her hold her back from pursuing her
Mhm.
aspirations. Because I think when she didn't have the right clothes or something, embarrassed when she got to school, so she pretty much stopped going. So the teacher does a poll, like a check for understanding, who thinks Esperanza is similar to her mother. They should think that she is because they both have those aspirations. And then they're going to transition to comparing Esperanza to her mother. So they're basically doing that by the teacher asking those. Where is that? Going back to Writer's Journal 2.3, the teacher reminding them what it shows. Esperanza's rising mood from the past, the present, to the imagined future, that she hopes for something better, but her future is uncertain. So they're talking about how Esperanza's mother felt about herself in the past, and the class is guiding the teacher to grasp the mood of Esperanza's mother expressed in the past as high and positive. Because in the past, she felt really good about herself. Like she had big dreams, and she thinks that she was really smart, like she could have done it. Um, so I get all my pages mixed up. And then the teacher is going to ask evaluative and influential questions, pointing out that we can't plot Esperanza's mother's view of the imagined future yet because they don't have the evidence to do it. But they're going to point out the similarities and differences noticed and ask questions to get students to see the choices that Esperanza's mom made because of her concern for other people's perceptions of her. Then look for how Esperanza's actions affect that's not right. Affect her perceptions or how her perceptions affect her actions.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and we're still in reading. The teacher's going to ask for volunteers to share their writing because they're on it. Writers going to 4.3. Write how you think you respond to other people's opinions and whether you would like that to change. So ask volunteers to share their writing. If there aren't any volunteers, the teacher is going to facilitate a discussion about their experience of writing a personal reflection. Okay. And from there, the teacher asks them work to do after class. Checking Writer's Journal 3.4 for revisions. Did they actually respond to the teacher's feedback? Writer's Journal 4.1, their vignette 3, and make sure that they put the quotation marks in their correct places. 4.3, reading their reflections and providing supportive feedback. And I think that concludes lesson 4. Am I wrong? Did I talk
Well,
about
well, you did, so that's
I'm
okay.
so
But
sorry.
I'm gonna add in some things to the writing. So they talked about, they read vignette, what was that, 3, about her mother.
Yes.
Is that 4? And now this is the fun part. This is the actual application part of it, and how the mother, how her aspirations, her perceptions, changed her, made her feel a certain way. So now students are going to reflect. They're going to write their own reflection. So based off all the vignettes that they've read, now it's time for them to write a personal reflection. And so the teacher is going to remind the students that they've been reading about Sandra Cisneros and her personal narrative, and now they're going to write their own. So this is an activity page 4.3. And the students are going to basically write, think about whether other people's views are holding you back or whether they're making you want to work harder and do more. So now the kids get to think. We were just talking about this, Sarah, like about us, personal lessons. Let's make it personable, applicable to us.
Mhm.
And so now for this lesson, these students are doing that. So who in their life, what in their life have aspired them to do things, and based off their perceptions and perspectives. Um, in the Writer's Journal 4.1, we need to ensure that students know that Esperanza's mom wanted Esperanza to do well, right? Because she wants her to learn. She's just telling her based off her mom's mistakes, she didn't want Esperanza to deal with that. And so teachers may wish to have a conversation to with the students about learning from mistakes, and based off your learning, how has that affected you now and wanting to do better, or is it holding you back based off something that your parent or sister or brother or anybody has done? Because now the students are going to write about their future and their hopes, and to achieve their dreams. And basically they're going to write that on activity page 4.1. And like we said, they're going to revise it, so first I'll have 15 minutes to write about it on activity page, and then the teacher is going to ask, does anybody want to share and have a whole group discussion about it? Sometimes they may not want to share. Like, this is like digging deep, right? Like, this is about me now, it's personal. So they may not want to share, but the text does say, ask students if they want to share. And if not, just they can discuss their experiences with writing a personal reflection. Like, for example, you should see teachers posing questions if no one wants to share. Did you like writing more or less than the other writings we've done? Because this is a different writing. Like, they got to really think about people and their families, how they think of them, what they, and how that makes them feel, moving forward in their life, and does that and how they aspire to do certain things or not to do them. What are some challenges that they had writing this reflection? It could be an evaluative question you could ask. And another good question is, if they were Sandra, like a teacher should ask, if you could ask Sandra Cisneros some advice about writing, what would you ask her? So this is in the case that kids don't want to share. You can pose these questions, even if you do have a few that want to share, because we know we have those students that want to share. Let them share, but then really talk about this process of writing this, how it made them feel. And it also says after class, you're going to go through and look at all their notebooks and just provide feedback, and just that's how you're checking for your students' understanding. And that concludes it. Lesson 4. We're done.
Yay. All right. So as usual, we love to hear from you. If you have questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out to us via email, Twitter, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Team 3 DLC. All right.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye bye.